Happy Saturday, everyone. So it's good to be here. We're back to continue working our journal, and I'm basically done in this journal. I may even stop a few pages short just because the book just gets to bend so much, and I'm ready just to go ahead and start fresh in the next journal. So I'm probably going to just sort of finish up here. And then that last little bit is a final section. I can even just take those pages out because of the way this journal is done. Here, you could actually take off that last section and it won't affect anything. So I'm thinking I may do that because it's really getting hard to kind of hold things down any longer and kind of work flat. So that's kind of when I generally will start changing over. But anyhow, so today it's revisiting color. So earlier in the year, we talked about our color, we talked about forbidden colors, how we're influenced and affected by color. We've talked about our palettes before, the seasonal palette changes. So I find that within the year we're getting, the seasons change. Every few months you have the changing of the seasons, and I find that I start revisiting color again. So that's what this prompt is. So I'll read it and then we'll talk about how I'm being affected right now, and then when we get to the table, we're going to actually do some painting, working with some color. So we are now in our 37th week of this program, and we have come a very long way. A lot of work has been accomplished, and many new discoveries and revelations relating to the creative self have been realized. We have gone through the change of seasons, holidays, vacations, while maintaining our practice in art, which is huge. To be able to stay consistent, whatever your consistent is, it doesn't have to be daily. Maybe it's once a week. Maybe it's every Saturday morning, you're going to do your journal. Maybe it's every other day. It doesn't matter. Consistent is what it is for you. That's all that matters, is what your practice is and how you've been able to stay steady. That's the most important thing when it comes to establishing practices. As with most growth, things change along the way. And for me, one of them is always color. Simply the change in seasons alone will cause me to be inspired and tweak my customary palette. I'm finding personally that I'm being inspired with a new with color, and can only imagine that you are also, especially as we're changing seasons, etc. Sorry for the shadows here, but here in Arizona, when I have the studio that I'm in, I have my tripod lights, and then you have the ceiling light, and normally I have a lot of sunshine that comes in through the window to my right. But when it's a little kind of overcast, I don't get that sun, and then I find that I just get more shadows, and it's almost impossible to get rid of them. So hopefully it's still nice and bright and you can see everything. So shades of green have been calling to me. And that's so funny because when I wrote this 37th week, I actually said shades of green have been calling to me. And that's the exact shade in this 37th week of this program that has been calling to me is green. And green is not a color I use a lot. I like greens. I find they have their place, but normally I'll do like yellow greens, gold greens, like sort of lime greens as accents. But like the deeper flower greens and leaf greens and grass greens and emerald greens, malachite greens, I don't use those a lot. So it's funny that I've actually written here, it says, shades of green have been calling to me. And that's exactly where I am right now. So I generally have a very limited green palette. However, my mind's eye has been generating so many variations that I'm excited to explore these combinations. Also, I had the revelation recently that as I have always been so drawn to the sea, now the earth's waters are calling me to explore the palette of the oceanic environments. So let's revisit color this week. Look back at what you've discovered about color in week 7. Ask yourself some of the same questions again. Also look at the color of your recent purchases in clothes and household items. They also will tell a story about your color emotions. And so I find it to be so true. When I just want a pop of color, like sometimes you just might even go and just buy another little lap blanket for your sofa or something like that. And you'll notice it's a shade, it's a change of color. Or you may be purchasing a clothing item and you just are curious, why am I, purchasing this color? I never really do. But that sort of gives you an idea of where your color palette is going. So maybe you've been thinking about bringing new colors into your home decor, but are reluctant because of the large ticket that those items carry. So how perfect is it to play with these colors in your art journal this week? You'll realize a lot of wondering by using those things that are stimulating you in other areas of your life when you bring them back into your lab, your studio. So use studio time to explore these palettes, emotions, and ideas, and let's play. So yeah, that is so funny that in reading that, I realized that green is doing it again. So just another update. Thank you all for jumping in, and I'm really glad you guys like the printables. I know it's something different from me, but I just love these quirky flowers. If I do any kind of realism, it's going to be more from my imagination and from sources that I'm inspired because they're just, they're odd, and I like odd things. That's why I like Cabinets of Curiosities. I like odd things. I like collections of odd and strange, unusual things. And so this printables this month have been perfect, and I've really been enjoying them. And then Eva's book, you all have been downloading it. It's so important when you go and get the link that we send you in the email. Just make sure you go in and download it. You don't have to read it right now, but just please, please, please download it because it's pushing her up. She's like number 44 in Australia, number 2 in Canada. She's coming up in the hundreds right now in America, and she was in the 3,000s and 4,000s in all of these countries. And they're just, you all download. I mean, it's making such a huge difference in community here, rallying around getting someone in our community on the top 10 now, it looks like, on the bestsellers list. I mean, we're going for the top 100, but like she's moving to the top 10. This is incredible, to have an accomplished artist in our community like this, that we've helped, we've had a direct impact in, her art form and her life. And, I just think it's amazing, especially in these times we've all been a little bit, kind of like having to sort of, kind of conform to a lot that's going on. In a way, I think, I'll speak for myself. This last year, so I felt a little powerless, I just feel like I can do certain things within the community, but a lot of things, I don't feel like I can affect change. So how cool is it to be able to know that just clicking one button and signing up and downloading someone's book has made such a huge impact in, pushing her art. And the good thing about that too is that she's working on a trilogy, so we get to get more The Adventures of Herlide. And so many of you said that you just are listening to the book while you're working. I did the same thing. I got the Kindle version of it and I just listened to it. I mean the Audible, because you have the Audible, you can just download it. And I've listened to it while I'm working, and it's just magical. So thank you all. I just wanted to give you all the update and the good news that, and all your hard work and being a part of community has just had a huge impact. So before we get ready to go to the table, I'll show you what I did last week with the printables. So I was in this feeling of wanting to work, kind of give this old world kind of collection of textiles and writing and old papers, sort of compendium or look to it. And I still want to actually put some fabrics on here, but these are from the Amadeus, I think the February printables, and I used the Venetian technique, the Fortuny ones. I think those were January printables. So those are 2 printables. So you already have those printables. That's where I got these different papers from. I just like this idea of the fabric being around the images with sort of the writing, text, just kind of really bringing this old world look to it, like it's almost like a catalog or something of images and fabrics. Maybe even thinking in terms of like a designer's compendium, putting together vintage, you know, prints with textiles, and just this idea of bringing, you know, several associations together. And this one, really liked how this turned out, you know, and this is all from the paper pack. Even these, that's what's the smaller ones that I did, and then I put the label there, the Tracy Fox labels. But yeah, so just kind of giving it, and I think because I did these on these old papers and I gave you all some of them, it's like all those little stains and all that stuff that really gives that sort of authentic old page look to them. And then I think with these older textiles and stuff, look, this is the Venetian, that style of jelly printing that I call Fortuny. That's from that pack. So yeah, that's what I've done with them. And so now we're on to continuing to work in a similar style, but I thought I would have fun showing you how I painted these, and just how the gesso worked with the watercolor, and just how I got some of these techniques that I really like. So I thought that'd be fun. So let's get to the table, and yeah, see you there. Okay, so as we revisit the idea of color, we worked on that earlier in the year. We talked about the various change of seasons and sometimes our emotional changes and how this affects our color palette. And if we don't stay present with it, sometimes we come to work and we not feeling like we're like, you know, vibing with our work, or we can't seem to get in that color palette to finish a piece that may have been sitting for a while. It's a good idea to look at where we are with color. So this is a great time to actually for me to revisit color in week 37. It's amazing how it comes up. Like a lot of times these prompts are like right on target for me in terms of my personal work. And I've been working with these prompts for a number of years now. And it doesn't matter what month or when the 37th week comes up. It seems like it's always like right at the right time, you know, with these various prompts. And so as I've been working the idea of my little quirky flowers in the Voynich diaries, and the idea of ancient text, alchemy, ancient writings that can't be, you know, seemingly cannot be decoded and deciphered. I've been spending a lot of time with that, honestly. It's been showing its way up in my work, and probably a lot because I'm doing the herbal studies, as I've told you all. At any rate, I'm going to go ahead and do this while I'm talking. This is from the printables, and so I thought I would show you how I kind of covered the pages, and I'll just do a new painting with you. I've just been working these paintings, and I just have been getting so much coming up. This card looks like it's got some stuff on it. Let me see if I can find a smoother side. So basically what I did is just took some gesso. I'm using the Liquitex Professional here, whatever gesso you have. And I covered that script because what I liked is I liked the fact that the pages already had that age look to it, and I thought it would add to the, you know, to the painting, the little watercolor, having that aged effect. And these watercolors are some, they're, you know, I'm getting my inspiration from the Voynich manuscript, and I've always loved those drawings. And like I've said before, I always have drawn flowers that are very similar to these. So when I came across this manuscript a number of years ago, it was just like, you know, I guess meeting a twin flame. Not that I can say I've ever met my twin flame, but I can understand the concept. So anyway, because it just resonated with me, right? So what I did is I just used the gesso and literally just whited out the text, but just enough that we can still see that there is some language underneath there. And some of the images in the Voynich are similar to that. Some of them look like they're painted on top or around this really peculiar text. To me, just is in the realm of the intuitive scripting, you know. But the idea of color has come up a lot, because I know in working with this, my color palette has changed some, for sure. And just get these cut while I'm waiting for this to dry. And I think my relationship to imagery, you know, when you're kind of working on various images, like in this case, the plant flora and fauna that have a certain color vibration themselves, that can really affect, you know, your color palette. So sometimes the subject matter that you choose to work on can cause a shift. And, you know, and that's for good cause, because probably the reason why you're even, you know, connected to the particular subject matter is because of color, texture, you know, things like that. So while that is drying, I'm going to just I try to get it smooth so there's not a lot of sort of wet places. I'm going to just kind of finish getting my palette sort of hydrated. These are the ones I've been working with. So, yeah, and I know that I'm going to be continuing this series. Those of you who are on Facebook, we will definitely be doing more of this on Facebook. In fact, we're probably going to do, I think I'm going to start kind of like a journaling, you know, we'll do some journaling prompts over there around the Voynich and also around the Harlot of Alonia. She's not a harlot. She's a Herlot. And so, and just doing some diary work around this idea of decoding and not really quite maybe knowing everything about that which you are fascinated by. Like, I'm fascinated by this book and have studied it for a number of years, you know, but I have no idea what it's saying. And there's a certain type of, I don't know, there's a certain type of interest that comes from kind of being in relationship to things like that, you know? So anyway, I just wanted to kind of get this rehydrated. They look like the colors are pretty good. So let's just get started. So if you're kind of inspired to maybe do your own kind of flowers or whatever, it could be anything that you think, you know, has to do with you sort of investigating your color palette and looking at what's coming up for you, what changes. And so for me, in this color palette, it's not only been a change of color, there is an influence around my subject matter as well. Okay, so it's a little wrinkled, but we'll try to, hopefully that doesn't affect this too much. I'm trying to let it dry out. So start off with the green. And so let's see, I'm going to start right about here. And like I said, a lot of these flowers have been inspired by me just kind of studying the Voynich. And sometimes they're a direct correlation of what I've seen. And then sometimes it seems like I end up with this, like this sort of compilation of several types of flowers. It's funny. Let's see. And with me, you know, many of you know I've studied, been studying herbal medicine, and just, you know, herbal, really, the flowers, and with the medicines that the flowers, you know, give. And so it's really interesting when you notice the flowers, things I never paid attention to, when they come off the stem at the exact point. Sometimes they come off a little one a little higher than the other. It's like all these little subtle differences that really tell you what family that flower may be in, or so. I just think it's cool, the various personalities that the flower has. So I also find that things happen in pairs, and in pairs, or like 6s, 5s, 4s. Sometimes, you know, like these are like, you know, right opposite each other. It can be a square stem. It's just amazing. So just sort of paying attention to, I'm going to do 6 of these. Voynich seems to work a lot with 6s, with 5s, 3s. In terms of what the flowers are doing. So we'll do 6 stems here. Okay. So let's see. And I'm working with watercolor here. And I'm not by any means a watercolorist. I'm not, you know, I don't even put myself out there like I know, you know, everything there is to know about watercolors. But you can really use the brushes to shape your leaves. And I just like the way the water will flow. And you can, it's amazing how many different shapes and sort of little quirky kinds of, you know, shapes and stuff you can get out of them. So just kind of have fun with them when you kind of know. And sometimes I just let the paintbrush sort of show me the shape. Like I might have a general shape in my mind, and then I just kind of work with the shapes. Now the other thing I like is I love the gesso on, and then doing the, now this is acrylic gesso, so I'm using acrylic gesso, but I'm using watercolor, and I really like the way it just flows and pulls on the leaves, and you get that really neat effect. And you know, just kind of, you can sort of guide or direct it a little bit if you want to, but I really just kind of, as I'm doing the shape, I like to watch to see what the colors are doing, and maybe just influence it ever so slightly, but I really just like to kind of go with what I'm seeing the colors doing. So it's really a fun thing to play with. Also, I've noticed when you kind of go off the page a little bit into the ungessoed part, I like to see the contrast there. Like it'll be a little darker and it'll really pull the color in. And what I like about that is, to me, it really does give that feeling or that sort of look of, you know, old manuscript with all the imperfections or the age that, you know, the age that kind of happens when you're dealing with old papers and stuff. So just really have fun with it. And maybe you pull out and work with some colors that you don't work with all the time. Like I don't work with green hardly at all. There are greens I like I like the green gold by Goldens. You know, I use that quite a bit. I like lime greens. There's one in Arteza that I like. So I like greens that are sort of on the verge of yellow. And in this case, this has a more yellow in it than this darker green that I had there. But yeah, I'm definitely working with a different palette. Like you guys know, you don't really hardly see me working with these colors. So that in itself is really, you know, just really has just a new kind of, what do I want to say? It's just really creating a new association for me. And it's causing me to see, need a little water here. Here we are. It's causing me just to sort of think differently about how I'm even working and the influences of color on me. So that's why I said this prompt 37, when I noticed it, because a lot of times I don't really work ahead. I'm doing this in the week that I do it with you all. So a lot of times I don't even really know what prompt is coming up. And I honestly won't know until a few days before I'm doing the video, because I really just kind of want to keep it fresh for me too. That's where the fun is, you know. So every time I do these prompts myself in my studio, I really allow myself to have fun with it and, you know, try to kind of work along with you all. So when it came up about the color, I'm like, wow, that is like crazy. How perfect is that? So here again, we just kind of think if you haven't done watercolor like this on the gesso, it's a lot of fun. And I think you'll really enjoy that. I wish this purple were a little deeper. Kind of wanted a little dark. I wonder if I can get a little bit of this. It's kind of like a dark green over there. Let's see if I can just make it, deepen it a little bit. Just wanted a little bit more, not so violet, you know. Yeah, I wanted to dry it. So I'm just kind of got a little bit of a dark green over here, and I'm just kind of, it's like a really deep foresty green. I'm mixing it in with the purples, giving me a deeper tone. Okay. So now let's see. I want to, let me clean my brush again. I'm using a, which one is this? This is a, this is a 228 Sablette brush. It's a Utrecht brush, but it's a 228 if you're interested in what, if you kind of like have different brushes and you're wondering what I'm using. And it's like a, sort of like a, got to find the sweet spot on this camera. Let me it's sort of like a pointed, slightly round, you can see there, and it's about, well, it's a 228, but it's about 1 2 3 4 5, wait, 1 2 3 4, it's about 5/8 long. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm gonna go for this ochre color. Kind of want to just add ever so lightly. This idea of just a little, like these little halos almost. What I love about these flowers is that, you know, you don't see these. You know, it's not like something that's out there in the world. It's like in your imagination. And I just think that it's something about being able to stimulate your imagination around quirky leaves and quirky root systems and stuff like that. That's what I really like about the Voynich. The root systems are quirky. It's the best book. I fell in love when I saw this book. I'm like, a kindred spirit. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work on our little root system. And I want these to be a little darker. I mean, if maybe, yeah, there we go. I didn't want them so yellow. I'm going to put a little bit of this darker color that I'm going to use in the roots. I just want these little halo type of things, but I don't want them. I didn't really want them to be yellow against the purple. Maybe a little more ochre. Okay, I think I like that better. Okay, so down to the roots. Here we go. And it's so funny because now that I've been studying plants and I've been going out foraging for them. In fact, when this video is live on Saturday, I'm doing this right now on Thursday. And right around the time you will be viewing this, I will be on the road heading to, let me see, I'll be heading to northern New Mexico, or well, northern Arizona, and more like central western Arizona. I mean, sorry about that, guys. New Mexico. And on a foraging trip. I'll be up in the White Mountains. And yeah, on some of the sacred native land. And so this will be perfect. So while you all are watching me paint this little fun flower, I'll be foraging some. And what's amazing for me has been the root systems, because we spend a lot of time actually going down and getting the root systems out. And a lot of times the medicine is in the roots. Sometimes the roots only. And the kind of roots, I mean, like all the different systems that come out of the ground are just really blow your mind. So that's the thing I like about the Voynich, because some of the root systems seem like they're about as quirky as they can be. Like, you know, and though I've never seen roots like some of them that you see on the Voynich, you just wonder, was this just different medicine? You know what I mean? Like, were these just different plants from the times? It's fascinating. Plants are so fascinating. And, you know, not the area, it's not only the aerial parts, which I think a lot of times when we think about flowers, we focus on the aerial parts, which are the flowers and the leaves. Sometimes we really don't even think about the stem. And I kind of find that like I'm actually bringing a little bit of this ochre color a little ways up into the stem. Because I also notice when, okay, I'm back, my battery decided just to die in that little moment there. But you'll notice that a lot of times when you're working with the plants, how the leaves, the stems will start changing color the further down it gets. You know, it's just not one continuous flow of color. So just little observations I've made, I kind of bring into these little sketches, little watercolor sketches. So, okay, I like that. And then I'm going to get a little bit of red. I have this idea that in the Voynich, that it's almost like if you really study the plants, they almost sort of say what they're for. Like if it's for your immune system or your heart health or liver or kidneys or sacred feminine organs. It's really kind of amazing. So I've spent a lot of time just really studying these images in the Voynich from the standpoint of looking at the flowers differently, in terms of just observing the organ, observing a lot of how I feel like it sort of shapes itself like the organ it may correspond to. Or also I see alchemical symbols in them, and it just makes me think about the alchemy of plants. Now I want to get a little bit more white up in there. I want to kind of go over that brown with a white. I want it to be a little bit more translucent. So I'm going to get my Liquitex acrylic ink in the white, and can I get it open? Oh, I know it's not stuck like that. I have another one. I like this. Couldn't have got it on that tight, could I have? There's another one. Let's see if I have any more luck with this one. Okay, this is better. Both of them have stuff in them, but okay. I'm just going to put a little bit on this key card. And using my brush, I'm just going to kind of come in, and I want to put some white. I want to see this, but I don't really want it. I almost want it to look as if it's like translucent or something. You know what I mean? Like it's there. It's like leaves that have a little bit of color, or petals that have like a little bit of color to them, but like gossamer. That's the word. Almost like the way, you know, wings may look on a fly or butterfly sometimes when they're a little more gossamer. And I think this coming over this allows me to still see the form a little bit, but it just knocks that strong color back. So use your inks too. I love the Liquitex inks when I'm doing watercolors as well. They're acrylic, but they're fluid, and so they really do. Oh yeah, I like the way that's doing. I don't know if you can sort of see, but you see how it's starting. If you look at this one, how it looks more yellow and stuff, and now this one is it's knocking it back a little bit. So, And to me, that's the beauty of like these flowers, that sort of have a certain mystery to them. They're not just, you know, alrighty. So, come back and get a little bit, a little light in that. And then, let me see. That's probably done with it. A little bit more of the purple. Just deepen it a little bit. And and then I think what we'll do is, now these, you can, when we're done, I'm gonna let this dry and then I'll be back. But what I'm gonna do is then I'm gonna glue them into my journal. Oh, let me see. Yeah, you know, just kind of glue them in, and then maybe still add like stuff to sort of, maybe some labels, give it a little bit of a sort of herbarium kind of look to it. But I sort of just want this sort of field notes kind of thing, like we're out in the field and we will be doing, you know, we have time to kind of do our sketches and stuff. It's funny because I have my field notes journal up here that I use when I'm out. Now, in this case, I'm actually taking notes right there with the plants, and then, you know, sort of just gluing them into the pages. This is Shepherd's Purse. This is Horehound. And then I try to, I'm listening to my instructor, and she's moving through material. So I try to grab a lot of the notes. So a lot of times I'm actually just taking and taping them right on the pages and then sort of writing around them. So I kind of want to bring a little bit of this sort of real life, this is Lemonberry, this kind of feel to it. And maybe even, I'm gonna start working on some journals. We're doing this in Patreon, where it's actually maybe putting some, putting dry flowers and leaves and stuff right into our books as well. So yeah, I thought, I just happened to look up, and this is my pen. I use this the Quaco Sport. I actually have this in an ink, in a fountain pen as well, but this is the pencil. So, and this is like my little field notes journal, kind of what do you call it, traveler's notebook style, but this is one that I've made. So yeah, I happened to look right up and see it, so I thought, let me show you all, because I'll be taking that with me. Okay, let me let this dry and I will be back. Okay, I'm back and we're nice and dry. So let's start off by just gluing this down. I have been working at this desk all day. I'm telling you, it is a mess. And I'm done with this video. I really have some cleaning up to do. So I'm gonna move these things out the way. But I pulled some papers out. Try putting this stuff away. That generally does help. And here I want to work sort of just like an old, you know, page in some sort of herbalist compendium, or a field notes that, you know, got completely flushed out. You know, you come back and you just make all your notes and take the time to sketch an example of it, you know, that kind of thing. It's kind of what's on my mind. I guess also knowing that I'm going to be going foraging and meeting some new plants. in medicine this weekend, I, you know, kind of have that influence and anticipation to draw from. Alrighty, so I think I'm going to put this down at this edge. So, goes down like that. Normally, as I'm getting to the bottom of my book, I kind of split it so that I can have a little bit more of a flat edge to work from. Okay. So, we have that. And, let's see. So, I'm just kind of pulling bits and pieces. This is from some of the waxed papers we did, so I know I'm going to use some of that. I'm also going to use some of this text here. This is from some of Roxy Creations, Rachel's. She has some of the best printables with Italian documents and old pages. I recently got some more, and I was just telling her, I'm like, oh, you have the best printables when it comes to these texts and these old books and everything she's able to get her hands on. You know, when I was traveling, or when we could travel more, I would be able to grab things, and I had a lot of good French ones, but and I find them here in the States, like some old ones, like these are the history of England, and they have really some nice old papers with the spots and stuff on them. I love all that. These Italian ones, she is like the best. So I'll make sure that I put a link to her Etsy shop. Now this is some of my marbled paper that came out of one of my 17th century books that I have. And it's just been reproduced. I have this in somewhere in one of my paper packs. But I'll just put some general links, because I'm using different ones. I couldn't even begin to tell you which packs these came out of. But you go to her shop. I'll give you the basic link for her shop, and whatever you lay your hands on, you're not going to be disappointed. So I kind of like this combination of building up this different text. You know, you sort of, when you're doing field notes, I showed you an example of mine. It's all over the place. You're writing this way, you're writing that way. You're writing everywhere you can find a space. So I find that I end up on both sides, writing around the flower. So it's kind of nice just to think of, you know, putting text in a lot of different spaces. So I kind of want to put, yeah, just a thin strip. Well, I need one down there too. So maybe I'll put this down here. So that'll kind of go there. And oh, I stained some of this paper. I love this stuff. So I'll put this down the side, because I just love the way this paper. It's just a print that I have. That I photocopy, and then I just coffee dye. And I mean, this looks like old wallpaper, an old bombed out villa, doesn't it? It's got water damage. And then on the back is always just as good as the fronts. So yeah, let's just grab a little bit of this. strip to put down. I just kind of want to surround the whole thing. So I'll see which side I want to put down. Oh, I might want to put that green side down. Because, you know, I would normally put this side down. But since green is my color that I'm really kind of, you know, been working with, it's not a color I normally work with, I think I'm going to put that green side down. And then this will go over it like that. Okay. And then we're going to... Okay, so let's go ahead and get some of these down. This is from her printables as well. Oh, I think I'll put this, because sometimes I just take bits and pieces. Like this would have been from a whole page that she would have had in her printables. And then what I'll do is just take bits and pieces. So I like this bit right here to put at the top, like the year with that line underneath it. Let me see if I can get that. Okay. Let's kind of take this, and then that way I get that nice little bit. Okay. This is, I guess, 15. Plus a note 4. So it's the night, it's, what is this, 18? I gotta think about that one. This is 50-50. It'll come to me. Sometimes, like, you know, like you know, like you figure out around here, this is the 10 plus the 5, so it's 15. Can't be 1504. So it's 100 minus 10. So, oh, I'm wasting time. I love figuring these out though. Okay, so, let me get this, and let's begin by putting this strip down. Get my Giotto. Yeah, so just having fun. Okay, time's looking good. So I'm gonna get this right at the top. Okay, there we have that. And okay, so the other thing, I know sometimes I'll get comments when I do the weekly prompts that says, oh, I thought you would show how you know, interpret the prompt. So a lot of times I purposely do not do that because I really don't want to influence you all in terms of the way you would work with that prompt or you know, respond to it. And that's the whole reason that it's a prompt, you know, more so that it can just be something that, you know, that you respond to. You know how it is when someone says something, it is hard to get it out your brain then. It's like you just only can see it that way. It's like that, you know, they said those old, whatever those things are called. Is it the maiden or the witch? Is it the hare or the fox? You know what I mean? So if someone says, oh, do you see the fox or a hare? Well, I find personally, what did I just do with the pieces? Here it is. It's like the first thing that they say is the thing that my mind focuses on. So if they say, do you see the hare? Then right away I see a hare. Do you see the fox? Or right away I see the fox. It's like whatever that first suggestion is, for some reason for me, that's what I see. And then I have to, and then if you just try to strain, you're never going to see the fox, right? Or it's going to take you a long time. But if I release that immediately and just release it, just almost like clear my brain like you would a chalkboard. And then I just think fox. Then the fox will pop in, right? So that's how it is with these prompts. I don't really want to always show you all like something like this. Obviously, this would be my interpretation. You've already seen it. So I'm just kind of showing you maybe how I'm, you know, how I watercolor or on top of the gesso. Maybe that's something a little different. You might not have thought about doing like that before. Maybe, you know, that kind of thing in terms of techniques. But so depending on what the prompt is, I just kind of like let it set and let you all have your own natural response to it so that you can have your own sort of walk away experience without me having influenced it by saying this is how I did it or this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of value in that. So just know that if, you know, if I put a prompt out there and I don't necessarily show you what it is I'm doing or something, I feel like it might be a prompt that maybe you haven't been in a relationship with before, or if I show you what I'm doing or whatever, or, you know, or answer it the way I would answer it, I could be influencing you. And that works directly against what, you know, what I'm hoping these exercises will do. So, don't be disappointed or anything like that. Just, you know, be open to, okay, well, let me see what, you know, what I would do with it. Because the next week I always show you what I did in my journal. You know, maybe what I did with the prompt or how I flesh it out in my journal, or, you know, or what's a lot of like in last week, I sort of gave you what came up for me in terms of my totems. The giraffe. I made a number of examples, even how my circles are like totems. But, you know, sort of suggestive, but I really wouldn't have drawn that or what have you, because I'm not in relationship to the totem in that way. So, yeah. Just know that, you know, it's all a part of the process. Let's see. What happens if I take a bit of this and put it here? Or I like how that integrates with Roxy's printable right there. The colors go nicely. And I know it covers the 29, but you can see the 29 underneath, so that's okay. This is another one of those kind of little pieces that, okay. See, so we're kind of really flushing the page out to sort of give it that old, you know, kind of look. And then let's see what this little tag will look like. Got paper stuck to my finger. It's always nice to put these, I forgot where I got this one from. A lot of times I use the Tracy Fox ones. And then I have some I've made myself from some of my pages I've come across, or numbers that may be on that page. Oh, I like that right there. See how that fills it in nicely, and that sort of brown works down here. Sort of this whole field notes kind of thing. So that works. I like that. So I'll be doing more of this kind of thing during the week, unless I think of something else, and then I'll share it with you next week. And let's see. I feel like I kind of like to put, sometimes I have real little ones. Just kind of stack. Like down here, stack them. Like, you know how it could have been a couple of different notations on this page for different things. This a little off center, not too much. Okay. I like that. So that's basically what we have. My little quirky flower with its like intense root system. And I think that what caught my eye with this piece of marble paper is I thought it just went so well with the root system. You know, it just kind of mimics the conundrum and the colors and everything. And then with Roxy's papers, these are like just like filled notes on the side, some labels, something across the bottom, and see how that old book page really gives you an old book. So that's why in this printables I put several pages of old book pages, and then I even put some just, I think you saw it, I tore it off, just, what did I do with it? Just a plain blank. There's some blank pages in there from the book that, I don't know where I put it, but you know, you guys, let me see. I stuck it over here, and then where did I put it? Let me see. There, you know, I have this size, and then I have the larger size we were just using. But I put them in here in case you want to just kind of work right on these sort of old page kind of looking things. Because it really does, that old page color really does add to the look of, see here it is right here. You know, and I try to do some where we have some of the old staining from inside the pages on there. So when you put it down, it really does give this sort of more authentic look to the page than trying to color it with vintage photo or something like that. So that's why I put those blank ones in. And then this page that we just used was from the printable. So you saw how I gessoed over it and started working, and it looks just like the originals that I worked on, the original book page. So yeah, have fun with it. And you guys really seem to enjoy these printables this month. Thank you so much. I'm sure it was a completely different direction, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. I got a number of comments on that you all were connected to the Voynich as well. You know, really were fascinated with the fact that, and happy that I kind of brought this up as a subject, because you too have enjoyed exploring the Voynich. And also, wow, oh, the good news is that keep on, for everybody who's gotten printables, make sure you go in and redeem. Eva sends out an email with a link on it. You can go right in and redeem the printables. Even if, not the printables, her book, Harlot of Valonia. Even if you know you're not going to read it right now, just download it and have it on your bookshelf in the Kindle, because every download really helps her. So right now, she is in, as of this taping on Thursday, she's in the top 44 in Australia, the top 2 in Canada, and she moved from like the 3,000s up into the top hundreds, like maybe 600 or something like that in the US. That's a huge leap. And so everyone, if we, like, it's been tremendous community. You guys have reached out and emailed her and thanked her, or just said how much, you know, you're looking forward to, or you've started reading it, how much you enjoy the story. And that means so much to her as an author. You know, like, you really don't get to interface with those who read your book, because generally you're kind of disconnected from that process once they buy it. So let's keep on downloading those printables. And, you know, it's the same $6. I haven't changed the price of it. So what I'm doing is that I'm paying for your download. So in the $6, I'm paying for the download. And so you don't have to pay anything extra, and you get the 18 pages of the printables plus a Kindle download of the Harlot of Valonia. So let's help Eva get into the top 10 in America as well. She was just hoping for the top 100. And I said, nope, we're going for the top 10. And when I said it to her, she couldn't even oh my God, Robin, let's just stick to 100. And we're already in Canada in the top 10. I was so excited. So that's the printables. The link will be below. And then hopefully you'll have fun. So I put a lot of the book pages in there. I put eco stain papers in there along with some of the printables. So you have a lot of stuff to work with. And if you're not so crazy about my kooky flowers, where there's a lot of other stain papers and book pages in there that are just generic and that you can have a lot of fun with. And it still helps Eva. So it's the Herland of Alonia and the Voynich Diaries. And that's what this inspiration for September is all about. I'll also put a copy of the Voynich in the links too, so that you can at least go to Kindle and look it up if you're not familiar with it, just to see what it looks like. You don't necessarily buy it, but at least you kind of can see what I'm talking about. I guess that's everything. Well, this has been a session. I've enjoyed it. I really am enjoying doing these little sort of herbarium pages. I would just love to do a whole book of nothing but these and just kind of create the Voynich Diaries, including this, you know, my scripting, this sort of, you know, the intuitive scripting that, oh, that's in there too. So you also get some of this Voynich style of scripting that I did. So just even from a mark making standpoint in your own work, you know, you can tear these up. You got just some really neat mark making as a background. But a lot of these I'm turning into stencils. So in my next offering of stencils are going to be a lot of the Voynich kinds of symbolisms and sort of alchemical symbols. And yeah, so that's all that I wanted to say. I just wanted to update you all on all your efforts. Our hand clap. We really are helping Eva. And that really warms my heart that in a community, you know, we each can do something that makes a huge impact on somebody else's life. And conversely, our lives as well, because we all are a part of the process, and we all can just, you know, take a certain amount of joy and gratitude in seeing one of our friends, you know, as an author make it into the top 10 globally. That's huge. So love you all. Take care. Have fun in your journals. Happy creating. And until next week, just have lots of fun. Stay safe. I love you, and I will see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.